All right, so you hear me talking a lot about real estate on this show. We're discussing the different micro markets, what's happening with interest rates. Real estate, it's a home. You're going to live there. You're going to build memories, raise your family, build community. But sometimes things can go to the negative side. Here's a funny clip from the breakup, and then we're going to get some commentary on what to do if you're in a tough situation with your real estate. Let's go ahead and take that look at that.
As your friend and as your realtor, I'm not going to leave here tonight until we decide what to do about this condo, because this living situation is obviously not working out. Gary.
Well, the only logical thing that I can think of is for her to move out of the condo and then to pay me some sort of a penalty as compensation for the labor that I did all around the condo.
What? Pay you compensation for your labor? We fixed this place up together.
Are you nuts? I fixed it. What, you went around with a sponge and you went in the bathroom and you dotted foofy.
That's what you're saying that I did. That's called aesthetics. It warmed this place up so it didn't look like an army barracks, which it was about to.
I'll tell you what it's called in his language, depreciated. That's what it's called. Unless the next buyer happens to have your same Zulu voodoo land taste.
All right.
And let me tell you something else. It's going to cost money to cover up the holes in the wall. The holes that you drilled in the wall there to hang up, whatever that thing is called.
Oh,
you're going to have to cost money to fix that. What I did, Brooke, has concrete value to the condo. I added concrete. Well, let's just go on record. We're dealing with facts here. I did the tiling in the bathroom.
Have you seen?
I did the new track line. I did the plumbing.
The plumbing.
That's realty terms.
Let's talk about your plumbing. This is this place. We have two temperatures in our bathroom. We get either scalding hot or we get frostbite. That's.
Seen that before?
Yes.
Something similar. Ilona and Antonyan, certified family law specialist, and Ajay Gupta, real estate attorney. Good to have both of you guys here. So you're working more on the divorce side. You're working on real estate law. So let's start with you, Ilona. This is obviously. It's funny. I'm sure it's not always that funny. Of course, you've been on my radio show before, and you've told me some pretty funny stories that involve this stuff. So when you see that, what does it make you think?
Well, I think what they're arguing over are credits and reimbursements and who gets to stay and who gets to go. Generally, if you're married and nobody wants to stay living together, but sometimes finances don't allow for the parties to separate and get their own place, one of the parties may be entitled to seek relief through court by seeking exclusive use and possession of the home. Generally, unless there's domestic violence, the court doesn't have preference who's going to stay, who's not. But, you know, when you hear them fighting over who touched up the wall and who is going to be fixing things up, those are called credits and reimbursements when you're going through a divorce. You want to, you don't get credit for any maintenance repairs. At the time of the divorce, if you're selling real property, you get credits for any money you've put down for down payments, meaning you get reimbursement, 100% reimbursement, dollar for dollar, for any payments towards down payment and any reduction in principal. You do not get reimbursed for payment of taxes, of interest on the mortgage, or just standard maintenance like they were fighting about.
And that's just the real estate. You know, you got to talk about all these other assets and kids as well. AJ, you're a real estate attorney. I think you probably get involved maybe down the road when there's a specific issue at the property, or what's your take?
You know, I always think an ounce of prevention. It's nice to be able to sit down and think about what happens, and this isn't really a marriage context, this is a breakup, I guess. So, and we see this a lot, where two people go in, they buy a property, it makes more sense to own, they couldn't afford the place individually, so they pair up and they don't really think about what happens when life happens, life changes. One party moves on, one party gets married, one party buys a dog, and the other's allergic to dog. Whatever it may be, you know, they don't really think about that. And it's nice to, I think about this in the context of, well, what if, you know, before the breakup happens, the parties actually sat down and thought about what would happen if, and did just a little bit of contingency planning around this while they are still on speaking terms. So I would start there. I think.
Now you have mentioned before that mediation is a solution. I think we actually have a slide that speaks to this, but explain how that can solve a lot of these problems.
So mediation is extremely common in the context of a purchase and sale agreement. In fact, it's almost mandatory if you want to pursue any type of remedy in the purchase and sale context. In this type of a context, it's really important to understand that mediation has a really, really high efficacy rate. So I think most people will say that mediation has about an 80% success rate. So that's the good news is that, look, there's a mechanism out there for people to resolve issues without actually filing a lawsuit, which is where,
And I was talking to you about a real estate situation I had, and I actually saw one of your emails earlier in the week, and you said, what's more important, to be right or to be happy? So mediation can actually help you get through that.
Yeah, that statement goes a long way, especially when you are 6 months
Marriage.
in.
Yeah, got it.
So,
Ilona, what kind of advice can you give if someone's going through something like this? We talk so much about starting families, building memories, buying real estate, getting a financial plan. Obviously, nobody does that with the idea of breaking apart. But what is it, 60% of marriages end in divorce now?
Probably higher, but
Yeah.
I haven't really been tracking the statistics. My recommendation is that if you're married or about to get married and intend to purchase property together, that you document how much money you put down, how much money you invested in improvements from your separate property funds. So keep the closing statements, keep wire transfer documents, keep those bank statements that show the transfers from your separate property accounts into either a joint account or into the escrow when you're purchasing property. And during the marriage, keep receipts for all, for the improvements. I have a client right now who is 86 years old, and he's getting divorced, and we're seeking credits and we're seeking credits and reimbursements towards wife's separate property, which is in Mexico. Surprisingly, he kept all receipts for 50 years.
Wow.
And so I have receipts going back to like 1960s right now for all repairs to her home, all, material he purchased. And it's great. I didn't expect to have it.
It sounds like a pile of coat
we
hangers.
add it all up,
Yeah.
and he gets dollar for dollar reimbursement.
Huh, there's your advice right there. Mine would be much simpler. Have a great legal team. We got Ilona Antonyan, who is a certified family law specialist, and Ajay Gupta, our real estate attorney. Good to have you guys on the panel here. You can reach out to these guys if you have questions with the stuff. This is one of the many ways I position as a consumer advocate. Legal issues. We talk about class action lawsuits, divorce, real estate law. We can help you. These are my experts in that space. Thanks, guys, for coming in here.